Welcome to Redacted Tonight, the only comedy show hosted by a cyborg pumped full of a state-of-the-art joke algorithm. What? Who wrote that completely untrue thing in the teleprompter? Not. Anyway, America finally has a solution to our labor crisis. You know, the one that's been causing restaurants to close due to a lack of employees, causing retail outlets to cut their hours, and causing Sesame Street to have to fill employment gaps with undocumented puppets. I love you, Carlos, but it's just not the same. The immigrants come here and they steal our jobs. That should be my ass with an art student's hand up it. Anyway, with the labor crisis getting bad, perhaps the answer is to pay workers more. Here's a rather complicated chart of the minimum wage since 2009. As you can see, back in 2009, it was $7.25, okay? And now, a whole 13 years later, it's a whopping $7.25. So that's almost enough to buy the lunch you'll need to secretly eat out of a New Balance running shoe so it doesn't look like you're eating on the job at the shoe store where you work. But even though the minimum wage has not changed in all those years, it's not as bad as it looks because you have to take into account inflation. $7.25 today was worth $9.50 in 2009. So it's kind of like the minimum wage used to be $9.50 and has actually gone down to $7.25. Oh, so it's worse. It's worse now. It's not better. I got it backwards, like that time in my high school talent show. I did the moonwalk forwards and ended up in the orchestra pit. Okay, so the wages suck in this country. The benefits suck for most employees. The benefits consist of a coupon for 15% off of sexual harassment. But you only get one coupon, so use it sparingly. And a lot of workers just aren't willing to subject themselves anymore to the garbage life we all call being an American. Well, there's an easy answer, and you might be thinking that answer is to, oh, I don't know, raise the wages, or give workers a 4-day work week, or to give them awesome health care, or to allow the playing of video games on employees' phones while they're performing surgical procedures. I mean, isn't finding out your doctor accidentally sewed an extra nipple onto you a small price to pay to see him get to the underground sewage system level of a Street Fighter? Which is a really modern video game reference I just came up with. But rather than do any of those things, increase wages, increase time off, etc., states and corporations have decided the answer is, of course, to hire children. How exciting! Now our kids can pull themselves up by their footy pajamas. Just recently, Wisconsin's Senate approved a bill allowing 14-year-olds to work as late as 11 p.m. And supporters say it could help plug the labor shortage. And CNBC says, one solution to the labor shortage, teenagers. They continue, teenagers are suddenly in high demand, much like at Dennis Quaid's wedding ceremony. And teenagers are apparently not just the answer to who's gonna blend your green juice smoothie and glare at you for not exhibiting the proper blue jean tightness. Are they supposed to be tight now or loose? Are we back to them falling off our ass, or is it back to skin tight? I can't keep up and my can't breathe. Make up your minds, tweenagers. We're all relying on you. But children are apparently also the answer for who is going to drive Mack trucks across the country. The U.S. is allowing teens to drive big rigs in a new pilot program. A program coming straight from Congress eases supply chain backlogs by putting teens behind the wheels of big rigs. You know, the same group of Americans who we don't trust with a rental car or a beer or with any kind of musical taste, they are now encouraged to drive massive bombs down our highways. But safety advocates say the program runs counter to data showing that younger drivers get in more crashes than older ones. They say it's unwise to let teenagers be responsible for rigs that can weigh 80,000 pounds and cause catastrophic damage when they hit lighter vehicles. But there is a bit of a silver lining to all of this. Maybe we shouldn't feel bad for these children we're forcing to labor, because the U.S. Has never really cared much about children. Journalist Alan McLeod pointed out, the U.S. is the only country in the world that is not party to the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. This is because it wants to reserve the right to execute minors, which the convention explicitly prohibits. There you go, silver lining. The U.S. hasn't signed on to giving children any rights because we want to reserve the ability to murder them. Point being, obviously, if we weren't lunatics, we would not think that forcing kids to work is the answer. But beyond that, why is no one talking about how people should be working a lot less? Yes, less. Most people work at jobs they don't love, but they do it to pay the bills. This is called wage slavery. And if you support workers, you should want them to have at least a wee bit less slavery, right? Well, one company's actually doing it. An American tech company has decided to give employees a 4-day work week permanently. The San Francisco-based e-commerce developer Bolt piloted the program last fall, and the results were overwhelmingly positive. Workers don't actually get less work done in a 4-day work week. Instead, they're more focused and productivity remains the same as a 5-day week. For example, if you have a regular job, let's say fixing broken escalators, you know, pulling the doll heads and Comic-Con nightcrawler tails out of the escalator gears. Suppose you fix about 20 escalators in a 5-day week. But when the week gets cut to 4 days, studies have shown you'll increase your efficiency and remove those 20 mangled doll heads in only 4 days, and you'll get paid the same as 5 days. So the amount of work done is the same, but the worker has an extra weekend day, an extra day to live his or her life the way they want, to appreciate the miracle of existence, the beauty of every breath, the magnificence of every sunbeam that warms their face, the sublimity of every smile their young child makes. Or, if that's not their thing, they can eat chili off their stomach and fill their couch with Dorito farts. But either way, at least they will be wage slaves 1 fewer day a week. The CEO of that 4-day-a-week tech company said, a lot of companies operate with a lot of work theater, which is people caring more about the appearance of working than the actual work. Point is, we waste a ton of time at our jobs, but we do waste that time for a good reason. Most of us hate being there. A lot of jobs are meaningless in the grand scope of things, so most employees try to do as little as possible while getting enough done that nobody goes, hey, that guy's doing as little as possible. What's up with that? For example, this entire segment is actually just a reprint of a segment I did 8 years ago because I didn't feel like writing a new one. But that doesn't mean this segment isn't really good. Like that movie that just came out, Interstellar. McConaughey does it again, am I right? Long story, slightly longer so that I can fill my required work hours. The 5-day work week should be a 4-day work week. We would have more time for love and family and art and existence rather than the bullshit everyone does at work. Wait, where are you going? Where are you I meant except for the people that work on this show. You should totally fire. Who's gonna film the part about coming from Washington, D.C., the Belly of the Beast, Redacted? Someone, come on.
Let's roll, never get their control. They got their money, but we've got our soul. Let's roll, never get their control. They got their money, but we've got our soul.
Welcome, I'm Lee Camp. Let's break some news. As you know, I'm a devout member of the evangelical church. As you also know, devout means unvout, and I am the least vout member of the church, meaning I've never been in one, but I've heard good things about their brunch options. They give you free crackers, and they have a dude actually place it on your tongue, which I've always found is the most labor-intensive part of eating things. Although the crackers are not actually free. In exchange, you have to hate gays and think women are the property of men, which kinda, it's a lot to ask for a cracker and like a little bit of wine, you know? But I did once tell a guy I agreed that albinos were the work of the devil in order to score an Egg McMuffin. I regret that now. I regret that. Anyway, I do realize there are plenty of churches out there that embrace LGBTQ folks. However, Project Censored revealed recently that major Christian organizations, including the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association and the Fellowship Foundation, have together spent close to $250 million over the past 13 years campaigning against LGBTQ and abortion rights, according to a report by Open Democracy. Over $250 million trying to make sure 2 to 4 people who love each other very much get punished for that love. This is seriously up. Some churches are using those donations people give them to oppress other people a world away. If I wanted to do that, I would pay my taxes. And these hateful maniacs with their holy hair gel leaching into their brains claim they're just trying to protect the sacred institution of marriage. What? Sacred? I know people who got married on a dare, for a green card, due to too much tequila, for money, for regular sex, for an iguana famous for wearing a hat, and of course, because they thought they'd never find anyone else and didn't know who they'd get to pluck that really long back hair they have. These are all common reasons people get married. As far as sacred institutions go, I would rank Dunkin' Donuts maple syrup pickled yam donut holes just above it. And this story has been ignored by the mainstream media. Unless, of course, you count Dave Chappelle's 35-minute bit on how he has it tougher than trans people who've been attacked in the streets because his stretched Hummer doesn't have enough room for the double masseuse rub-down he's accustomed to, so he and his entourage have to pull over and rent out the cigar room of a high-end hotel. See? Dave is just like you and me. I hear the servant boy who puts Dave's pants on him does it one leg at a time, just like regular people. Anyway, this story is completely ignored by mainstream media, and it's not just about how one views marriage. Peter Tatchell, a well-known British gay activist, described this movement as Christian imperialism, menacing the well-being and human rights of millions of LGBTQ people. Christian imperialism, using the insane wealth of the church to persecute people. It's basically modern-day crusades, except instead of maces, spears, and the rarely used foul-smelling donkey catapults, their weapons are millions upon millions of dollars. And instead of trying to crush pagans and Moors, they're chasing after people who don't have the same sexual orientation as them. Wow, how far the church has come since 1,000 years ago. There's even rumors they might start allowing unmarried women to speak out loud in public. Progress. Next up, in the big bucket of stories, Google has just admitted they will continue to heavily track and profile users until at least 2023, which is roughly 3 months after humanity will cease to exist. So that's interesting. Anyway, even Forbes magazine, known for giving roughly zero about individual Americans, unless you're rich enough to have a personal chef for your panda bear. I mean, a personal chef to cook you panda bear. Even Forbes said you should delete Google Chrome after their new tracking admission. And I have to agree. I mean, think about it. If you find out someone is following you closely, telling others your whereabouts, sharing your personal data, showing you videos of overweight men having sex with throw pillows, even though you don't recall ever telling them you were into that kind of thing, if someone were doing all of that to you, you should definitely end the friendship, or at least delete them as your emergency contact in your phone. Google is that creepy guy in the trench coat watching you from across the dog park. You know, the guy you call Jack the Jacket Jacker. The only difference between Google and that guy is that that guy doesn't get paid billions of dollars to do it. He just does it for love of the game, which you kind of got to respect. Chrome is the only major browser that does not offer meaningful protection against cross-site tracking and will continue to leave users unprotected, just like a cocktail party at Bill Cosby's house without bringing your own sippy cup. Google Chrome allows corporations to track your every online move, and they make billions of dollars doing it too. There are other browsers out there that don't monitor you nearly as much, such as Firefox, Brave, DuckDuckGo, and Piggly Wiggly. Wait, Nope. Nope. That last one, I think, is a small group of stores where you can buy Spam, AAA batteries, and a birthday cake at the same time, with the word birthday spelled upwards of 70% correct. But the first three are real browsers that will help you end your abusive relationship with Google Chrome. Sure, Google sounds friendly. It does. It seems friendly. It's rainbow colors. You know, you've been with them since 2001 when you were just a young, naive internet surfer, completely unaware of the sheer number of hamster videos in the world. Sure, Google is a silly word that sounds like it couldn't possibly be filled with evil, like nipple or fluffernutter or Benedict Cumberbatch. But Google is abuseling you. It's violating your online life without consent. You don't need him anymore. You're strong enough to move on, sister, and take his cat with you because it loves you more. If one of those other web browsers I mentioned still won't do it for you, then just get answers the old-fashioned way, yelling stuff out your window and seeing what gets yelled back. Just the other day, I called out, "What does it mean if I have a rash on my testicles and testicles where my rash used to be? Also, where's a good place to order Chinese food?" Unrelated. That second part's unrelated. Eventually, a guy yelled back something like, "F you," which sounds delicious. Don't worry, that sentence isn't racist, just proudly ignorant. We have to go to a quick break, but some of you may be thinking, why isn't he talking about Ukraine? I bet he's not allowed to talk about Ukraine. Actually, the episode of Redacted VIP on the situation in Ukraine came out yesterday. Go check it out at portable.tv/series/Redacted Tonight. I'll be right back with a lot more.
Dear viewer, thank you for finally changing the channel. I understand you're tired of networks that blur news with views. You're tired of commentary presented as fact and facts presented as commentary. They are not the same, no matter what the partisan hack want you to think. You know me. I'm famous for my views, and you'll get them, and the news, and me. Yours truly, Scotty Nell.
Wall Street's busy trading your money 5 days a week.
And there are 4 quarters in the fiscal year.
And 3 major stock market indices.
And when you have 2 options,
Thrive or fail,
It all becomes clear.
there's just one business show you can't afford to miss.
The one and only Boom Bust.
find it now on Portable TV.
Welcome back. I'm still Lee Camp. Recently, the FDA did the reasonable thing and allowed the abortion pill, which is extremely safe and effective, to be ordered by mail. But it's still nearly impossible to get in the U.S. Here to discuss is our in-house woman, Naomi Karavani. Hey, Naomi.
Hi, Lee. Woman here. Yes, this abortion pill, mifepristone, has been in circulation since the 80s, and there's so few side effects that it's safer than Tylenol and Viagra. It's so safe, these activists are eating it like Tic Tacs. But it's still harder to get than other drugs from the 80s, like cocaine, which does not get rid of a pregnancy. I've tried. Though it did get rid of every speck of dust in my house, my Roth IRA, and about 3 friends.
Sounds about right. Can we get back to the abortion pill, though?
Yes, we can. Well, in 1993, Time magazine called it the pill that changes everything, but then it disappeared from public knowledge. 2 out of 3 women don't even know about it. It was pill of the year. Now it's like the Andrew Grove of pills.
Who's that?
Exactly. He was on the cover of Time magazine in 1997. Now a nobody. He's the mifepristone of people.
So, if the pill is so safe, why aren't women getting it?
There's been so many barriers to getting this medication that most abortions in the U.S. are still done by surgical procedure, even though the majority of people ending their pregnancy do so early enough to take the pill instead. We're still getting antique abortions out here. That's something that you don't want vintage, unlike a couch or an IUD.
You have a vintage IUD?
Yeah, a copper one. It actually looks like the Statue of Liberty welcomes all the poor, huddled masses of sperm in. You know, it really doesn't work at all.
What?
Even now that the FDA allowed the abortion pill to be mailed, 19 states have mandated in-person abortion treatment. Many women still have to make 3 trips to the doctor's office in order to get this pill that they could take at home. The doctor first advises the few risks of taking it. You sign a form, get an ultrasound, watch the miracle of life, get mobbed by evangelicals reciting psalms strapped with AR-15s in the parking lot, then drive 150 miles back to your home because you're probably one of the 90% of women in America who don't have an abortion clinic in their counties.
Jesus.
Yeah, they yell about them too. Then you have to go back, do it all over, then another round trip for a checkup just so you can swallow a pill in front of a doctor.
That's more supervision than birthing a baby.
I know. Can you imagine taking other medications that way? Every day I would have to go to a clinic and have an internist watch me drink Pedialyte for my daily hangovers.
Yeah, women should be able to take the pill at home, I think.
But they don't know about it. Somehow, instead, we all know about 60 different erectile dysfunction medications. And now I know about Zeoflex that apparently fixes bent peni.
Peni?
Yeah, the plural for penis.
Don't think so.
Well, I'm not a doctor, but I have read patients' reported side effects of Zeoflex, such as losing inches off of their But isn't that like every guy's excuse? Like, it's too cold, I drank too much, or this FDA-approved medication had serious side effects, but since I saw it in a Super Bowl ad, I was convinced it was safe. I mean, I've heard it all.
These were the poor, huddled masses you've been with?
Well, they weren't all poor. The added layers of so-called protection for the abortion pill are not because of medical necessity, but politics that are inconveniencing women. So I suggest that we need a political solution. Force erectile dysfunction patients to go to their doctor to take their pills, and then the doctor must examine their erection to see if there's a bend.
Okay,
And
TMI.
then they would have to get Zeoflex.
That's enough. Thanks, Naomi.
No problem, Lee.
Up next, Erik Prince is back in the news. That can't be good. For more on our national security state's increasingly visible influence in American politics, we turn to our top secret correspondent, Jaffer Khan.
Today, we are discussing Erik Prince. He is, of course, the young, dashing prince who was rescued by a beautiful mermaid after nearly drowning during a storm. Wait, I'm thinking of Prince Eric from Little Mermaid. Erik Prince is the founder of Blackwater, the private military firm that murdered 17 Iraqi civilians in Baghdad. I always get them confused. He's in the news again thanks to a New York Times article that reveals his involvement in raising money for a conservative spying operation targeting opponents of Donald Trump. Prince took on the role of celebrity pitchman, raising money to gather dirt that could discredit politicians and activists in several states. These perceived opponents of Trump include Democrats, progressives, and quote-unquote rhinos, which stands for Republican in name only, conservative slang for any Republican lawmaker who didn't punch a cop on January 6th. The plan was to infiltrate political circles in Wyoming and expand from there. Prince was working with former MI6 agent Richard Seddon, as they had previously in Project Veritas. If you don't remember Project Veritas, that's probably for the best.
My name is James O'Keefe. On July 25, 2009, I walked into the Acorn housing facility located in Washington, D.C., with my colleague Hannah Giles. I played the role of a pimp with the intention of running for Congress. Hannah played the role of a prostitute.
Okay, so what's the big deal with Erik Prince, Richard Seddon, and this new and improved Project Veritas? Well, it reflects a larger problem of national security officials meddling in U.S. media and politics. Let's go back to the 2016 election. Sorry in advance. Former high-ranking intelligence officials like ex-CIA Director John Brennan and others used cable news posts to spread lies about Trump. We don't want the CIA on cable news shows. It's bad enough they're in the Middle East, Latin America, Africa, Central Asia. Okay, we don't have time for this list. The point is, we can't have our national security establishment attempting to sway domestic politics. And the lies they were peddling grew out of the fraudulent Steele dossier, a document full of damning but made-up details about Trump named for its author, Christopher Steele, the former MI6 spy. Then there was the case of Hunter Biden's laptop, with former spies labeling the disclosures a Russian information operation with no evidence, delegitimizing the reporting and leading to news outlets to call it Russian disinformation. And of course, it turned out the laptop's contents were legit and had nothing to do with Russian disinformation. Who would have thought a group of professional spies could be so disingenuous? Now, let me be clear. Am I defending Donald Trump? No! It's not like the CIA had been conspiring against Trump because they just couldn't stand his hurtful rhetoric. They viewed him as a threat to the security establishment. This was about their self-preservation. The CIA should not be involved in our politics. Erik Prince should not be infiltrating political parties. I am so sick of hearing that guy's name. He should be in jail for war crimes, not out here free on the streets trying to stick it to the libs. The CIA and MI6 have always been secretly involved in politics, but now it's open and accepted because liberals love it when John Brennan discredits Trump and conservatives love it when Erik Prince supports Trump. We shouldn't be listening to their opinions on politics. We should be trying them for their crimes. From the Blackwater headquarters in Herndon, Virginia, this is Jaffer Khan with Redacted Tonight.
Here are your headlines from the future. Coming up on Monday, you'll learn President Biden urgently reminded where Ukraine is on map. What map is? Who black woman next to him is. See? He's on it, folks. And this coming Tuesday, Russia, U.S. convene summit to define whether Ukraine situation is giant attack to destroy Ukraine or special saving of people from Nazis. I'm kidding. They won't have a summit. And also on Tuesday, you'll learn U.S. announces it will not stop bombing Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Yemen until Russia ends its aggressions. That's our show, but as I mentioned, an episode of Redacted VIP on the situation in Ukraine came out yesterday. Go check it out at portable.tv/series/redacted tonight. You can also get it all with the Redacted Tonight podcast. It's called Moment of Clarity. It's free on Stitcher, Spotify, and iTunes. Till next time, good night, and keep fighting.